Hey everyone, this is your host Michelle. I'm also the VP of Marketing of Bixin Ventures. Every week, we will invite amazing founder from the Web3 space to talk about how their project will change your life. And we'll also dig into their brain on life hacks that got them to where they are today and banter our thoughts on the latest news in the crypto space. Without further ado, let's get started. So thanks for joining us, Hong Chu. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah, perfect. Thanks for sure. Thanks for having me on here. A little bit about myself is that I was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. I think it's one of the greatest countries to grow up in, pertaining to like mixing with different nationalities and all types of different people from different backgrounds. From there, relocated to the US. So I did my high school as well as my college and education there. Really got interested in network engineering and like CompTIA and Cisco. So really had a very good like knack around the age of 17 to doing those certifications, really working around like how does these moving parts and technology work together. So once you understand that data packet layer, then you can really like dive into understanding how different systems can interoperate. So from there, got a job in Atlanta, Georgia. I got accepted into this AT&T network leadership program that really gave me the fundamentals of understanding how network engineering is happening at an enterprise level. And then when I was diving more into my own personal research, so my parents are Nigerian immigrants. They migrated to Australia to do their PhDs.
Mm.
So they really pushed me to do like my master's degree, at least at a minimum. But from that master's degree, I really did a focus on computer science again. But then also I had to pick a thesis topic. So since my parents from Nigeria, my grandma still lives over there, and I was like, once I got down the rabbit hole of understanding, okay, what type of technology solutions am I doing at work or my corporate job, and then how can that affect emerging markets and economies? So then I found Bitcoin on YouTube once I was researching the history of money, all these different documentaries. And I really didn't understand it at the beginning, but I think that was like, okay, let me really put my focus. If I have to do X amount of credit hours of independent research, this was it. So once I understood like the Western Union fees model, I've just been down the rabbit hole ever since. So yeah, that was that in 2015, and I defended the thesis in 2016 spring. And yeah, just been down the rabbit hole. I started off in a Zcash community doing outreach activities with African American students across five US universities, and then morphed into the product aspect because that was still around the ICO type of environment. It was really hard to understand exactly what an end users or the utility of this new technology can bring. So from there, uh, won this social impact award from an internal Shark Tech competition at AT&T about how can telecom really revolutionize this new telco that we acquired, and then really thought how can I really get into a product mindset and really create a product for basically the continent of Africa as well as different emerging economies. So yeah, started building wallet APIs, started doing anything I could do with Python scripting, Bitcoin prices, denominating that in local currencies across the world. And then I just been down to here, just fell into it, got into a consensus mesh accelerator, and then as well with Filecoin, so to really understand the data aspect and how can data also impact these new emerging markets as well. And then yeah, that brings me to this position. Did a seed round last well, now it's a new year, so 2020, and yeah, just been building products and trying to get the real utility out of blockchain ever since.
Wow, that was a quite a journey to get who you are today. How long you been building this project?
Um, this project and the company formation, obviously, since like mid 2020, but just around just how do you create tools for sub-Saharan Africans, I'd say around 2018.
Mm, it's been a while. So, what is the problem that inspired you to work on Canza Finance?
Yeah, it was really once like the markets was really moving. I started coming from just getting involved from a trading aspect as well as those outreach activities. But it was really like this technology could really impact, this like different parts of the world much more than we just see from trading and understanding. I remember back in 2017, 2018, I used to wake up every time, basically the Chinese market wakes up, following Bitfinex and understanding that just from a very rookie point of view. But I look back now and like that understanding really helped assisted this whole journey. The problem that we see within Africa is that there's capital there, but then how do we utilize and understand the real use cases from Web3 and blockchain technology to help assist this fragment of liquidity or access to these digital assets on ramp or off ramps? So, we see Africa and the foreign exchange is basically trading at a premium due to FX scarcity, triggered by a lot of local fiat devaluation. So it's around a half a trillion import dependent market, which is a catalyst into understanding the difficulty for businesses to pay foreign suppliers. So with that really as like the core problem, and then to build solutions around, you then get into the world of digital asset institutional. How do you get Web3 integrated within that, as well as scaling blockchain in Africa to unlock the true use cases. Right. If we look at the Bitcoin original white paper, we can understand it's just a movement of money. But there was also another agenda that I really wanted to assist with, was that this technology is revolutionary. So not having the part of the world that needs it the most, really not having that option. So my big thing was at least creating the option for sub-Saharan Africans to utilize this technology, and those are the three pillars around what really inspired to get to Canza where it is today.
You've been talking about the problems, so lack of digital assets institution based on Web3 options and scaling blockchain technology in Africa to unlock its true use cases.
Yeah.
And can you talk about more about how Canza Finance is solving this kind of problem?
Oh yeah, indeed. Well, I guess this is the good stuff. But yeah, from my side, like OTC activity has been very present. When we look at different other like advanced financial instruments or these different trading desks across the world, we really wanted to build an institutional offering to access DeFi solutions, with a very good type of CeFi feel. But then our biggest thing is not to change the natural behaviors of end users, right? So we have a very big focus of the localization of infrastructure. So we do that via our OTC desk and the products within our TradFi, CeFi type of solutions, and that's what we call the Jara network. And then we're also now like with this really cool team that we've combined and created. We really have a very good understanding of the Web3 concepts. So now, how can we bring these potentially advanced type of ideas and offerings that we see in TradFi, but then have that towards the African market, right? So that's the whole part of the localization. So we do that with like our different DeFi products. One of the main ones now that should be come to mainnet this week is called Baki, which is an infinite liquidity stablecoin FX exchange, which swaps between African currencies with infinite liquidity and no slippage. So this allows users to seamlessly swap between USD, NGN, which is Nigerian Naira, South African Rand, as well as all other CFA on chain. So we really want to bring that accessibility and that localization aspect, but then still solve the problems with a very good and in-depth financial feel, but then as well, reach the businesses or B2B as well as the end users within the African continent.
Right. Thank you for your answer. So let's also dig a little deeper and find out what makes you take Hong Chu. So being a founder of a startup is no easy feat. So let's go through some of your life hacks and habits and help you get where you are today. All right. So when you think of a word, successful, who is the first person to come in mind and why?
I'll be very honest. That's a great question, Michelle. I'm going to give the direct answer top of my head. Obviously, I'll say my dad, right? I'm very family oriented. I think, the immigrant aspect, there's a lot of different things that really makes you understand once you get older of the, X amount of sacrifice, your parents or your relatives around you to help groom you to who you are today. So that's when I think of successful from just the top of my head. obviously we understand these different tech founders, the Elon Musks, even potentially the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. But at the end of the day, it's success is very towards, I guess it's always a moving end goal or end post. But the money to me just doesn't define the success directly. I think as well as like having that personal mission and vision really assists with that. But yeah, there's multiple different tech people in the space that we looked up to. But I'd say just to make sure, even to keep the synergy and the outlook internally. So I'd say my father.
Well, so your father is your absolute role model for your life.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I
And
think
what it,
when people think
mhm.
about it, it's just like the opportunities people bring. But having the opportunities as well, when you combine that with sacrifice, I think that really defines to me, just different outlooks of successful and not just at a financial aspect.
What is your favorite documentary or movie?
Got quite a few. Um, I love, like, once I did that, like the master's thesis research, I loved all these different financial aspects. So I liked different, The Big Short and Wall Street, that was narrated by Matt Damon, I believe.
Mm.
Um, but then as well, I like multiple movies, to be very honest with you. Within Nigeria as well, there's a massive local brewing content that's being developed. So I love a lot of
Like, can you
Nigerian
name a
local.
few?
Obviously, there's like different old ones people might relate with, like Blood Money and things like that. But then as
Uh,
well like Taxi Driver and things of that nature, where it's just giving you that local feel, but you can see it. I think, yeah, like the financial movies, I like them a lot. It's very very interesting, just because they're coming from a different background and not learning finance from scratch from an early age. So yeah, like the Big Short and things of that nature, really really cool.
yeah, me too. Big Short is also one of my favorite movie as well.
That's great.
Do you have a quote that you live your life by or think of often?
Um, and that's another great question. I think you know, like you said, entrepreneur, it's really opened up a lot of doors and make me think in multiple different directions.
Hmm.
So we have a very big emphasis on marketing now, right? Once you want to scale your product. So I've been really catching on and believing in these different marketing brands that really like define or how I move within life. So I think really, to be honest, the best quote that I really like now is from Nike or Nike or whatever part of the world you're in, which is just do it, right? Just do it, figure it out. There's no barriers, there's no wars. But then we can look at their direct competitor, and that's Adidas, which is impossible. It's nothing. So I
Hmm.
think those type of quotes, when I combine them, is really being the top of my head lately. But as well as just yeah, just the self belief quotes, certain things, poems, test of a man. So there's a lot of different things, but I feel like those are the ones that are really relatable now because it's just so simple, so clear,
Hmm.
and it's yeah, very direct, very applicable to anything, when you want to make decisions. So
Yeah, very inspirational. I give you a direction where you want to go.
mhm.
If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
um and that's so within our marketing campaign when we were doing accelerator, I actually bought a couple of billboards in Nigeria that was towards Canza and buying digital assets. So I think I've fulfilled that type of that type of dream or understanding there. But I think just overall directly to the answer is like probably a very simple quote, just like just do it, believe in yourself, and learn from experience. Like just a massive board of yeah, self belief, self confidence. I think that's what's lacking in a lot of people. Um, and there's not enough. I guess there's not enough leaders in today's world. But I think certain things like that would be something simple like could even be like the LeBron James thing, right? You just have to use his hands in
Mm.
there, right? So it's yeah, but cryptocurrency and all that type of base. It's just like yeah, buy digital assets, and then try to build. But so I guess I said it's just build, just build,
Just build. Do
just
you want
build.
your picture on it?
Nah, I don't want to.
Uh, just a
But no, it'll be
simple
it'll be something local
sentence.
though.
Just do it. Just build
Yeah.
it. All right. So I hope you've been all taking notes. So I'm definitely going to take a page or two out of Huncho's book. So let's move on to some current affairs and see what Huncho think about the latest and the greatest from the crypto space.
Mhm.
There has been a few recent scandal in the crypto market, such as collapse of 3AC and FTX, to name a few. So,
Yeah.
what do you think is the silver lining in all of this?
It's a good question. I think the silver lining is just that it goes back to the technology and back, I guess, towards the founders or the builders or the team that's trying to create products to really just, utilize the technology to solve real problems. I think when we look back about, I guess the last few cycles, I could go back to even 2011, 2015-ish, and 2017, even now, or to 2020 and DeFi summer. I think at the end of the day, it's just the projects that stand the most are the ones that's really building and solving real problems. I think 2023 is a very interesting year because it's going to be, how do you truly build a business? How do you, really bring in revenue and do all that type of generation?
Hmm.
But as well, it's just that, if you're really mission aligned as a founder, if you're really solving problems that is actually has that impact or utility at the end of the day, as well as, you can create a business. Business is all about capital and capitalism. So I think yeah, it's really just utilizing, blockchain technology to solve real world use cases.
So, impending regulation developments this year, how susceptible is Canza to regulation and compliance?
Yeah, I think my viewpoints on the regulations, legislations, and these different structures is that, open source technology, it really gives you that space to build, right? You can build different like products and understanding, and all from like just code and an IDE and a compiler. So I think when it comes towards that, at the end of the day, the regulators have to regulate something, right? But if they're not going to have the information or understanding of what these startups or these founders or these enthusiasts or entrepreneurs are trying to do, it's not going to be positive on both sides. So I think even from our take, we talk to regulators across multiple different areas within the African region to really understand exactly, because they want to understand as well. So it's not like you're just in the background and you're waiting for that. And I think that goes towards that quote of just do it as well. You build products, you can iterate, you can change, you can align and come back again. But at the end of the day, you really have to be, have that communication channel with the regulators and legislators,
Hmm.
because they have to make decisions of how you are thinking, how you're going forward. So we've been very open with our activities and different governing bodies across the continent. Mind you, Africa is a big place, so there's multiple different understandings there. But me,
Hmm.
because coming from a personal side, coming from like the outreach and education type of background of getting into the space, I've always been open to talk and educate, because at the end of the day, it just comes down to education and communication.
That's a good answer. And talking about all the regulation and all that, so what happened last year about FTX is very unfortunate. What's your take on SBF?
Yeah, no, SPF is very interesting. Obviously,
Hmm.
very like down, pertaining to like these retail and end users that haven't, or their funds are gone, right? Or it's a massive process just to get access back to your own capital. So I'm definitely sympathetic there. Obviously, that made multiple ripples across the space. From leveraging or investments or the economy, etc. So I think personally, from an SPF to that's the person, I think it was on the right track of creating tools and processes to create a business. Obviously that's profitable and high valuation, etc. But I think at the end of the day, ultimately it was just doing too much, right? I think when we piece it down, one of the things that I've been seeing lately is, I think, because of the Amida side, and then you also have the FTX side. I think that was really the ultimate downfall of that empire over there. But I think as well, like we just gotta stay humble, right? As well, I think individuals, we can't get too big. For a long time when you're solving big problems, yes, you really want to go further and far, but as well, it's just that um, you really just got to still be attached to the ground, right, and still be humble, and really understand what's the interworkings and like capital. It's not just zeros and numbers just on the screen, just trading. This is the real money for real people. So I think from that side, like I said, I think obviously his credentials and all those other things, like people will say, he's a very smart person, but I think yeah, he's just too much juggling too many hats, and ultimately just folded. So I think there's a lot of things within the founder aspect, like burnout and things like that. And I think those are certain things people need to consider going forward.
Do you think that's more like a personal issue or the problem in crypto?
Yeah, I think at the end, like it's not just a one person thing. Obviously, like there's a team and there's multiple different factors. But at the end of the day, I think there's advisors, there's other people, but it's just what is their objective, right? What is the individual thinking that's giving this advice, or where you're taking advice from? So I think it's very multi-layered. But obviously, he didn't get this position just by himself, right? There's a lot of
Mhm.
different moving parties in the background. So I think what we could learn from it, and we see this stuff on Twitter all day. We keep building, but honestly, that's really it's a simple thing. Just going back to the quotes, if you keep your life simple and then you're just really building, you're actually solving real problems, and you'll be in a very good position. But like I said, I think it just really got too big, too hot to handle type of thing,
Mhm.
and yeah, so I think that's opened up a lot of cracks.
Yeah, just as you said, stay humble and just build it.
Mhm. Exactly.
Do you have any request for your audience, or what's your last parting words?
Oh no, I think obviously, we know, I did an article for Forbes Middle East that I wrote as a contributor back in 2020
Mhm.
about the different trends that was happening in the Middle East. Like at the end of the day, the open source software is global. Everybody can participate. And when we look into now, the 2024 is going to be another halving. So that's obviously some type of bullish type of sentiment. So it's really like, if we look at it now, if it's a bear market, just really build accordingly. But really just Web3, um, finding the impact projects, really finding the projects that are aligned, really understanding, what's happened in the past, so we can build upon that. So just don't keep making the same type of mistakes. But yeah, I say from my parting words is I think emerging markets in Africa is really going to be one of these top narratives, and not even just the narratives, just the real aspect. I think a lot of people and a lot of calls that I've been having really underestimate the African traffic and OTC value, or even the developers on the ground. So I think be very very open to understanding that there's more moving parts than just what we see in the US or what we see in Asia. I think at the end of the day, cryptocurrencies, it really was to power everybody. So once everybody has access to that, I think we're really going to see something that maybe we've never seen before. And when we just look at the internet, and me just coming from a network and engineering side, the internet protocol, right? It's the great equalizer, and that's what we're seeing now. But how do the end users actually use it, right? That's really going to be something that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see. But yeah, like I said, our focus is in Africa and other different emerging economies, Southeast Asia, as well as Latin America. So I think that's something a lot of people around the world globally should start paying attention to.
Right. Thank you, Hongchu, and thank you for everyone tuning in. And remember to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out Hongchu and Canza Finance. We'll
Thank
be
you.
leaving links and contact details to the project in the video description below.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.